Yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy Demetrius Behind The Lens, and we are back for another episode of the Creative Vibe Podcast, episode 013. And today, I've got a real dope guest. This guy exemplifies hip-hop, R&B, soul, trap, a true artist, a true marksman of the craft of lyricism, a real introspective brother with the likes of Pete Rock behind him and the true soul people behind him, the whole record label behind him. This brother exemplifies New York City and hip hop to the core. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the one and the only Amxxr. What's good, baby? What's good?
Peace. How you doing? The intro was incredible, man.
Yeah, I try to take it out in one take, whole style, but I think it's well deserved. From the time that I met you, man. So thank you for coming on the show. You know, I'm on the UK side, so I want to make sure that the UK gets a chance to, get blessed and get some exposure.
Absolutely, man. UK is it, man. I was out there with Pete like a year and a half ago too. I think we did a tour over there before. It's fire. London was fire.
Yeah. So I just like to bridge the gap, and me being a New Yorker in London, I just think it's very important to fuse, the cultures together, especially what the UK is doing now. And, take the New York side and give people exposure on this side and vice versa. We met back in New York. The first time I met you, I was shooting Rakim at SOBs.
Right.
And I happened to come downstairs, the backstage area, and I ran into you, saw you briefly. Pete Rock was down there, DJ Clark Kent, shout out to DJ Clark Kent. It was kind of a brief thing, but the vibe was cool. I didn't really know who you were. You meet, I'm always shooting stuff, whether for Johnny or my,
Right.
You see people all the time, so you don't really know who's what and what's going on, but you just see people coming. Just recently, I was in New York. I was coming down the stairs with my man DWI. We was at the studio doing another interview for the podcast, and we ran into each other. We kind of remembered each other, but didn't really know from where, and then it clicked. One thing led to the next, and then we wanted to be in the studio and taking some photos, and you were preparing for your show. And then I came out to the show, which you invited me to, so I appreciate that. And
always, man.
Yeah, you rocked the show. It was an ill vibe. And I said, you know what? I got to get this brother on the show and get to know you more. Use this platform to sit here and actually get to know you. So first things first. So I like to go back to the beginning with my guests and start at the root and the core of who they are, where they're from, where they grew up. And then eventually we'll go into all the other details. So where'd you grow up and how'd you get involved with hip hop? What's your beginning story?
Well, my beginning story started in New York, man. I was born in New Rochelle. My mother lived in Mount Vernon, but I was born in New Rochelle Hospital. From there, we moved. I think we had an apartment on North Avenue. Apartment caught fire. We ended up moving out to VA for some time, during my childhood for sure. And I was out there, did some schooling out there. A lot of my formative years out there. Then I ended up was always back and forth to New York at the time, Mount Vernon or New Rochelle. And then I ended up coming back for good, And then when I came back, I'm missing out a part too. Hold on. So after I graduated high school, I ended up going to the military, and when I was in the military, I did I went to the military when I was 16 and 7 months. And when I did that time in the Army, I ended up getting deployed and, things of that nature. I got deployed. And when I got out the Army, well, actually, I got stationed in Albany, New York. That's how you saw me. I knew some of those guys from Albany. I got stationed in Albany while I was in the Army. Fort Bragg. I was in Germany. I did a stint, combat veteran. But this was all 18, 19. I was because by the time I was 17 and 19, by 18, I was already deployed. So, and I was writing rhymes at the whole during this time. So my introduction to hip hop started in high school, right? So
what year is this? What year are we talking?
We talking early 2000s.
Okay.
Early 2000s, yeah. So so around then I was like, that's when I really started to get into the writing portion of it. High school talent show. I did a couple of those, and then I started writing rhymes as a kid. I would memorize, artists' lyrics, write the lyrics down on paper, and just memorize it back.
So what were some of the artists that was like, what pulled you in? Was it something you saw? Was it an artist, a performance?
You know what? It was my sister, man. My sister Bridget had these old she had a cassette player. When she moved out, my friend Biz gave me his boom box. Now, mind you, my mother had a CD player and all that other stuff in the crib, but she wasn't, you know, back you can't touch the CD joint. You don't touch the
Mhm,
CDs. You can't
mhm.
do that. So around then, so he gave me it was a tape player, and my sister had all of these old cassettes on like the she had left at the house or whatever. Rakim, like there's a lot of Big Daddy Kane stuff, but this is I mean, at this point it had dust on it.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I pulled the tapes out and I popped it in. And the first thing that I wrote lyrics I ever wrote down of any artist was Rakim, Paid in Full.
Mm,
And
classic.
I wrote down the lyrics to Paid in Full, and I just became like it was off to the races. And then, you know, of course,
Well, what was it about Paid in Full that, like, because it takes a certain, like, my inspirations, they hit hard. Something about the performance or the something that hit you. Like, what was it about Paid in Full, Rock Camp? What was it that spoke to you that just hit? Like, what was the feeling of the record, the production,
I think with Rob,
his
man,
message?
it was all of the above. When I heard it, it
Mm,
was the seriousness of it, and it was also the effect. Like he wasn't smiling and doing a lot of jumping around like goofy dance. He wasn't dancing. Not that dancing is trash or not my thing, but I wasn't really a dancer. So I seen him, and he dressed like a drug dealer, but he had a message. It was just all of these things moving in motion at one time. I would from the just it was an amalgamation of just
mm,
in this of the and then I started to look at she had recorded these like UMTV raps on VCR tapes. So I'm popping in the tapes and I'm watching these the videos, right?
mm,
And at the time, like then I recorded the videos. So now I'm
mm,
watching the videos myself and I'm just looking at it like, damn. And I'm catching up to it, you know. And
hmm. So she kind of had like a time capsule of hip hop
yes.
nostalgic eras
Hmm.
before you even really
Yeah, because
was
I didn't have
living.
any.
Yeah,
I wasn't living it. And then
yeah.
around that time, you talk about Nas, Illmatic, and you know the Biggie, the Jays, and they was on fire. So
Mm,
I'm jumping in around that time, trying to figure out where I want to participate. Um,
mm.
like really participate around that era, man. And so then, I mean, I would just write down artist lyrics, memorize the lyrics, and spit them back to myself. Till one day I just said, you know, effort, I'm gonna write my own stuff. And when I started writing my own stuff, it just I never stopped writing ever since.
Mm.
Hmm.
So where does the stuff that you was writing, where was it coming from?
It is you know what? I think the songs write themselves when you start talking about your real life experience, right? So I
Mm.
remember I wrote this is funny. My brother Jay probably still has this rhyme book somewhere. The first rap I ever wrote was a song called Black Woman.
Okay.
And it's not the title was but I just remember the first three lyrics like about we disrespect them, neglect them, always want to sex them. I know they get tired of the pork and the lies. And in hindsight,
Mm.
my brother never lets me forget these lyrics. He jokes or he cracks on me like, yo, bro, how was you a kid writing about pork and lying to women? And I'm like, I don't know, I just wrote it, you know, and
Mm.
then from that point on, I think that was kind of like my thing, writing about like what I saw and kind of like more from a reflective position. And then if I went through it first person, um, I think the power of writing at that time, and I was always like, um, had a fascination with word. I would, you know, I was
Mm.
one of those kids that like, you know, did a lot of puzzles, crossword puzzles, and
Mm.
would count the vowels or the sounds in the word and sentences and stuff. So I think that was kind of like I didn't realize what I was doing, but over time I realized that I was low key training myself to understand, you know, rhythmic pattern and how
Mm.
the mechanical function of how words execute and how and the effect that they have on the person. You know.
Would it be fair to say that you related to conscious rap? So was like conscious rap? Obviously, you seem like a very like conscious person, even from when I heard you rap at the show in Manhattan. Would you label yourself as conscious? Uh,
I would let y'all do that.
okay.
I would like, you know, there's too many modalities to my person. for me to just, fall under one thing. But as long as, I mean, I'd rather be labeled as something good than bad. You understand? So if people call it conscious, I just call it, me walking on my course, but and
Yeah.
being attached to the source of it all, or attempting to be attached to that. I think consciousness in the word and how that's attracted, how the word consciousness in hip hop is positive, but it has a
A
negative
negative.
connotation, right?
Yeah, I was
Because
about to say that.
people are try to, not saying you're doing that, but people are box you in and like, oh, you talking about the sun, earth, moon, and the stars and X, Y, and Z. Rakim to me wasn't conscious. He kind of skated on that fine line. Nas wasn't conscious to me, but he skated between the streets, street conscious
Mm,
music, right? As I say, because a lot of hip hop honestly is street conscious. Anything, if you thinking about something, that's a stream of consciousness. So whether you
mm-hmm.
decide to use your consciousness to talk about guns, drugs, or whatever, you're still
That's what's
thinking
on your
about the
brain.
thought.
Yeah, that's
That's
your
what's on your
Yeah,
mind,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I think anybody that makes music,
It's
every
conscious.
song we ever heard, it comes from the conscious, right? Because it's word. Like when I think about word and I think about the power of word, like physically, we've always been behind our word our entire life. No human being will ever be in front of word. Physically
Mm,
impossible.
yeah.
So because I was always kind of like, I think looking at that as a whole, the word consciousness when it comes to music, I think isn't it doesn't encapsulate my total artistry, but it is a part of the fiber of what I create. And if anybody does hip hop, rock and roll, it is from country. All of us are conscious of something, right? As we speak it. But
Hmm.
and to expand on that, yeah. So yeah, I am conscious, but I think there's other, like I said, modalities into
So
what
what
I
I
do.
guess
Yeah,
I guess I'd
mm.
better phrase it as truthful music, because what I
Soulful.
noticed,
Yeah,
yeah,
I come
like
from the soul. I'm a soulful guy. I like
yeah,
over the years. I think I've become more comfortable,
hmm
because I think a part of me pushed it away, right?
yeah,
Joel Ortiz, a friend of mine, I name drop. Joel hit me in the DM. He said, "Yo, man, you part of the Conscious Boys now." I said, he said, I said, "What is the Conscious Boys?" And he started naming these artists. He said, "Yo, you tried to fight it, man, but when that group of people embrace you and the community of hip hop says that you from that fiber, it's not a bad thing because there is a people who like to, I think, function at a higher vibration as far as like what they want to understand on
hmm
the day to day. So
facts.
if you're one of those artists that are a voice or you come from the fiber of that naturally, I would tell you not to shun from that and kind of embrace it. And if I'm being totally transparent with you, man, which that is my intent for this whole interview and with
Mm,
anybody I speak to going forward, I ran from that for a while because I struggled
mm.
with talking about, I could curse, right? Yeah, name?
Yeah, you could do. Yeah, you could
I
let
was,
loose.
I wanted to talk about, street shit or X, Y, and Z. But honestly, man, that narrative is I think oversaturated in hip hop, and it's like, okay, here is another
Hmm.
guy talking about drugs, guns, chicks,
Yeah,
cars,
because
jewelry.
there's only a few.
Hmm.
Like for me, I
Yeah,
feel like when not to cut your silence, but like when hip hop
it's all love.
kind of
Mhm.
came out, you had a few people that represented that lifestyle because they truly somehow fell
Mhm.
into that life, and then
Right,
was just like, all right, I'm gonna put this into rhyme format and speak my truth, right?
right.
And I think,
And then you said it.
yeah, and I think, but then what happens is it became, because truth for me, what the hip hop that resonated with me and what I love the most is if I'm riding the train and I'm going to work, and because I'm a child of struggle and poor circumstances, and grew
Right.
up at a time and era in New York where things were chaotic anyway, and then being a person of mixed race background, my father's black, my mother's white, and obviously I lean on the side of being a person of color and dealing with being
Mm.
poor. When I hear someone speak about problems and things and things that you can relate to, flicking roaches out of your
Mm.
cereal, crackheads on the street,
Right.
but they put it in a way that, but then they've made it, or they got their first record deal, or they're on now, and then they've got that to talk about, and they're overcoming that, the
Hmm.
triumph thing. I think for me, and I think most people in their conscious core really enjoy that, because when you go to work every day and you're working a job
Right.
or two jobs, fucking three jobs, whatever you're doing, you need inspiration that keeps you inspired and keeps you going to make you believe that this struggle will end. So,
Mm. Mm. Mm.
right?
Mm.
So, hip hop always started with truth. It wasn't really battling. People used to, the
It was
whole thing now.
message. It
People
was
are
a lot of
saying
it was encryption. It was a lot of
it was
encrypted message.
reporting the
Right.
problems that were going on in the neighborhood. Broken glass everywhere. People walking around like they just don't care.
Facts.
Crack this and that because we were neglected and we were being sabotaged from AIDS to
Yeah.
guns to
Facts.
drugs. So hip hop was about truth. So that's why I feel like people naturally, especially our people, we naturally want truth. We want something but stylistically, because we have soul and vibes,
That is the
right?
best way to. That's it.
And then we lost it, and it
Mm-hmm.
became because the bag. Everyone was all about the bag. You can look at from any industry, NBA, music. No, people were playing their hearts out in Chuck Taylors and no bag and going to a
For
regular job,
respect,
and
though.
then still and
Right.
it was respect
It was
and honor
respect, honor. See
and truth.
the value. Right. See the point system changed. Right. I'm
Shift.
not qualified to say at what point in time it changed, but the progression of what we valued definitely is probably non-refutable that it has absolutely changed, right? Uh, and to your point, to add on to that, I think during the separation of well, people always say speak truth to power. I've said this multiple times. Like some people are willing to die to be a truth teller, right? Bob Marley lost his life, in my opinion,
Of
speaking
course.
truth to power.
Malcolm
Pac
X,
could have
same thing.
Malcolm X. Pac could have possibly lost his life speaking truth to power.
He's a
Right.
great example of the thing of this situation kind of going wrong.
Right.
But continue,
Right.
continue. Yeah.
Right. So even in that, I chose, and I'll publicly say this, I chose to put on the jersey for the team of
Team
speaking truth
Truth.
to power. Yeah, team truth to power. If it cost me anything that some people are not willing to pay, then you have it documented that I said it. Like I don't really, bro, you have to leave your place in a better condition or plant that seed of intent to leave it better than how you found it, right? And some people don't. People have the courage to grab a mic. People have the courage to create art. But are you willing to, do you have the courage to pay the price that is non-monetary for your art or standing in truth or even saying things to people that you think could possibly do that? Because I told somebody the other day, man, and I'm not going to get all, hyper spiritual here, but the thing of it is this: people like to mention, then this is kind of, it intertwines, it intersects with spirituality and XYZ and your personal belief. And and if you believe the source of all things is love, and love is not a fear, so I've come to the term that fear and God can't exist in the same place. So why would I fear what, you know what I'm saying? Because if love is in the room and God is love, right? Why would I fear what, because I know I'm covered. So when you know you covered and you know that this vessel that the flesh that we use to run around and, kind of run around in this life assimilation game we playing here, right? And the decisions we make to put us in set positions, you have to seize the moment, man, and be willing to be courageous enough to know that, you know, you gotta listen, when you're a messenger, the messenger is never bigger than the message. And I've always said that to people. So if you consider yourself to be one of many messengers, in that job description or what you were spiritually chosen to do, whether it's through hip hop, through poem, or through art, through visual art, through camera, through any form of expression, you know, you can't be used you can't be bigger than the overarching message. And I think in hip hop, a lot of artists think that they're bigger than the message that they're conveying, and that becomes your demise. When you're used as a vessel, you can never be bigger than what gave you the power to become that vessel. So
That's crazy.
I'm always, pretty. I won't say conscious of it, but in the back of my mind, I put that as part of my thought process when I say and do things. So I mean, even going forward with the albums that I have, coming, the Dope Boy Soul album. I have an album I did with Arsonist called No Soul Left Behind, and
Shout out to Arsonist too, dope
shout out to
producer.
Arson, my boy, Word, and I have a bunch of, I've been working. Brother Bink sent me some beats too, man.
Mhm. We're gonna dive into the project. We're gonna talk
Yeah,
about
I
that.
did.
We're gonna dive
But
in. Yeah.
I'm just saying for now, like, and it's
Hmm.
not, and it wasn't a segue to that, but just the commonality between these brothers, man, good, bad, or indifferent, is that there's an intersecting energy of being truthful about art or being truthful about message to said art.
Mm.
Um, and I think that it's not some holier than thou, or because people gonna always say, "Oh, niggas don't want to hear that shit," but to keep it a buck, they do,
No, everybody
because
does. That's the
everybody, right? Because you wouldn't have the artists that have survived the test of time if those
well that
messages were not
But that's the funny
timeless.
thing. That's the
Hmm.
funny thing. That is a weaponized mechanism to invert on yourself, because hip hop is the newest form to me of a spiritual war that's been going on for thousands of years. And
Talk
because
about
we
it.
don't have all the information,
Hmm.
and it's all just been disfragmented, chopped up,
Right.
divided, and also hidden. You know what I'm saying? People get a bit of this, a bit of that, but they don't know. So that's why you have what we call sellouts who say, you know what, instead
Right.
of truth, this guy's providing me with the bag. So then it becomes a trend. So people start going, I want to speak truth. I want to speak truth, because that's from Malcolm X to the 70s to James Brown. It's all been about truth. It's a man's world, but it's nothing without a woman in it.
Right.
Till now,
Think about how these things resonate throughout time. Right. Um. It what's being sold, I would say, or being marketed to said audience. Right. Noam Chomsky wrote a book called Media Control. And in some of
mhm,
his readings and some of his philosophies, he talks about how in the 70s and 60s that, the elections that we had in the US, or selling of product to people, was done at an eighth, 10th grade, let's say 10th to 12th grade reading level. Somebody can fact check it in the comments whenever. But it was definitely a higher reading level 30, 40, 50 years ago than what we have now. Because now elections are ran from a fourth to seventh grade reading level.
mhm.
So it speaks to that point you're talking about. People don't, we're not using, it's not being sold or being glorified to be a thinker, right? Even though you have to think to function, or I will think, just do X, Y, Z, and I'll think for you.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of moving pieces with it, in my opinion, and I get it, man. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how the evolution, or the continued evolution of not just hip hop, but the music landscape as a whole. Because
Mhm.
now, everybody has a voice and can be seen. So since they couldn't control it from a technical standpoint, we'll create companies that make you feel like you got to go through us. And if I can't control the company, then I can control the internet service provider.
It's funny
So
though, because
there's a
it's
yeah.
funny because people say everyone has a voice now. You know what I say about that? When everyone has a voice, everyone wants to be seen. I feel like everybody does have a voice and everybody wants to be seen. But I feel like there's a intent is a very important thing, right? So while everyone has
Hmm.
a voice and wants to be seen, most of the intent has been conditioned to create an intent to just beg for money through doing absolutely the most
Frivolous acts
easiest
were, yeah,
and dumbest shit that you
ever.
can do, which is pulverize your brain through sexuality
Hmm.
and sex only, or the fact that when you listen to the music, and this is going on through every era, but it's getting de-evolved because now, and this is a prime example, we're going to say all of this, and I'm going to segue back into the questions that are relevant to your journey and your story. So,
Yes, sir.
so we're going to get there, but look at the female rap that's out now, right? And everyone wants to be like, yo, no disrespect. And I don't want, because they don't want to lose, they don't want to lose out on maybe a connection, or damn, they ain't gonna mess with me or nothing. Or you trying to stop me getting the bag. So now you kind of got people, inverting with the culture and saying, well, nah, we're gonna box him out. Da, 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 da. But just a prime example, there's nothing wrong really, right, with having a little fun. In the 70s, there was truth, but people were
Hmm.
having a little marijuana, a
Yeah.
little drink. Everybody was getting a
Yep,
freak on and all
absolutely.
that, right? It's
Absolutely.
okay to be grown and sexy and have what you want to do. And if you look
Fact.
at just the female rap now that's out, Everyone is cookie cutter. Same chain, same rap cadence. Everyone's talking about, oh, um, you know, my
I'll
P
do
is
this to
this,
you.
and you got to give me
Yeah,
money, give me bag. I don't need no do mad,
yeah.
just terrible. It's quite terrible. But they say, oh, but that's lit, and that's what that is. No, you're
Right,
brainwashed because there was
right.
something called diversity in the sound. So you had Little Kim, who was raunchy and hood,
But you
but
also had
even
Lauren
within,
Hill.
but yeah, but then you had Lauryn Hill, and the next end you had Missy Elliott, you had
Right,
Eve, you had
right,
so many different flavors of music, and they all got played in the club. They always say,
right.
"Well, who wants to hear that in
Right,
the
and that's a
club?"
fact. That's a fact. That's a
I-
fact. And that's a
If
fact.
I,
But see, but even that is programming. The Who Wants to Hear That in the Club portion.
yeah,
Even
that's
though
fake.
you may have a sexy red, and but you still got a Rhapsody. You may still have a Rock. You may still have a ton of other female spitters that actually um,
If
are
I
really
Ruled the
doing
World by Lauryn Hill and Nas, that was a prime club banger. And people at that
facts.
time were smarter because they enjoyed that type of music. But then the next minute,
Right.
you could have Little Kim on like "Get Money," like, you
You
know what
made
I'm
me think
saying?
about something. You made me think about something. So
I like provoking thought. Go ahead.
if we revert back to the time frame, you saying people were smarter, right? Smarter, but they weren't as rich. So over the years, people companies will pay people more, right?
Mhm.
To not be as smart. I'll pay you
Mhm.
this up front so you don't think past and you'll take this lump sum, but I still own the rights to X, Y, and Z. So in the long haul, I'm still gonna make quadruple or whatever that money back.
Yeah.
But you chose to take it because you didn't have to think for the moment. And that's what I think. I think a price tag was put on that on integrity. Like people were willing
Yeah.
to, people started to say, "No, I got a price. You can't never buy my honor, my respect." And I think over time it was, or
Yeah,
maybe it was always for sale and we didn't know it, right? But I think integrity became there became a black market for integrity, and people were selling it to the highest bidder.
well, people of color have been vulnerable and insecure and what's the word, disadvantaged for a long time, right? We
Right.
lived in a world that was white, where all the power, all the knowledge, and all the leverage was given to one group of people. So it
Mm.
was only a matter of time. There's only two things that can happen. Either everyone says, okay, we have to hold each other's hands, stick together, and all be on this wavelength and block that out and find the
Yep.
truth and get it back. Or there's going to be a crack and that's going to leak. And what happens is, so you'll be good. And then what happens, you think individually, which I get to a degree, but collectively now you tinker the whole thing down. I think that hip hop has lost itself completely. Like, I don't, like, I'm okay with, listen, I grew up in an era where I saw the different levels of it, but I also see the trickery in it. And the younger generation is getting brainwashed to believe that it's all about the bag and the materialism only, like it's de-evolving. And
Very.
you have the other half of it that's fighting, you could say the J. Coles or the Kendricks of the world, that are like sort of trying. There's always that bit that's still there, but it's sort of getting pushed down because you see, like, the younger generation says, oh, who wants to hear that in the club? That ain't in the club. But we forget that we were playing. If you just go on YouTube and look at the times of the 90s and the 80s, there was a whole diaspora of music that was positive, fun, and enjoyable, and that
Facts.
had truth to help uplift your spirit and your community and your
Right.
people.
Right. Right. And
Because this,
I do believe it's headed back in that direction. I do believe I'm part of that vanguard of artists. Um, that intention is to make timeless music because
yeah,
what you to me when I hear you say that it leads me to the fork in the road of who wants to make timeless music or trendy, and both have a place, right?
but you
But
can
to you,
make trendy, truthful
and
music.
right, and it'll become timeless.
Yeah, because you could talk about, yo, I met a chick and she thick and she nice, her ass is right, da da
Yeah,
da da. You can be
yeah,
edgy,
and you can, but think about it. Who did that? Will Smith wrote a song called "Summertime." Well, Rakim wrote it, right?
yeah, and I got the first Grammy, so
Right, but it was
a very enjoyable cookout song.
yeah, it was a cookout record that stood the test of time, right? And there's tons of other examples. I just think that I'll say this because this is really what it comes down to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to synthesize it for myself.
Mm.
We're the only culture on the planet in a artistic cor- corporate art corporate art, because that's what
Mm-hmm.
it is. Once you go to a label, you're now part of a corporation. You're selling music from a corporate. It's a job now, right? There's a level of honesty that can't be placed on it. There's controls that are going to be in place of it. And
Mm.
no matter how much you think that you're going to go against that machine, you can either be muzzled, shut out, and now, and like I said, they can almost dictate your revenue stream, right? And most people who want to live off of their art because it's fun and it's X, Y, and Z, they don't want to compromise that.
Mm.
So if I ain't gonna say if money is your god, or but if you gonna really just take it and put it on your shoulder and do it yourself,
Well,
there's
the,
gonna be
those those same people who are controlling and manipulating the brains of people to believe that that's what you
mhm,
got to do when you get signed, and this is what, because that's all
mhm.
bull crap. That's all bull
It
crap.
is,
You don't
it is,
have you
it
don't
is,
have
it is because I didn't have to do
you
it.
yeah. Well, what you do is you make, this is how it works. This is how politics is supposed to work, right?
Right.
Um, is you speak your truth to fix problems that are necessary in life, right? You have unnecessary problems and you have necessary problems. And unnecessary problems is 9/11, planes flying into buildings. That's an unnecessary problem in life.
Right.
A necessary problem is how do we
I would
fix
even say a
cancer?
tragedy. That's more of a tragedy than a
Yeah,
problem.
but it was a problem that was created in the world. It was something that didn't need to happen.
Yeah.
Whether you think it was Islamic terrorists or whether you think it was an inside job, it didn't need
Yeah.
to happen. What we
Right.
needed to happen on September 11th was, oh, prices are going down, people are getting employed, innovation, infrastructure. So when you talk about politics or music, all you have to do is speak to what is relevant to the times that matter, and
hmm
people will go yay or nay.
No, you know what? I'm
So
gonna answer that.
manipulation. So when you get to the corporate signing and they're like, well, Amir, you have to make a record like this.
Right.
That is
You,
that is the
you
spiritual war
get
we've
your
been talking about.
that's when they get you to choose metrics over spirit,
Mm,
right? I'll get you to choose chasing a number or chasing what your art is and letting the people find it, right? Because now I can, people got to understand how, like, even with that, man, it goes back to this. Sigmund Freud nephew name was Edward Bernays. I remember having a conversation. I told somebody I learned this in college. So Sigmund Freud's nephew was Edward Bernays, but he dealt with psychosomatics, right? So in psychosomatics, it says that if you want to sell something to the masses, do not try to appeal to their intelligence, but appeal to their desires and their fears first.
hmm
Edward Bernays then took those teachings from his uncle, right, and began what they call propaganda, which then turned into PR, which then turned into marketing.
hmm
So because they figured if I'm going to market X, Y, and Z to the masses, and it should be more palatable, or people don't want to think they everybody just want to have fun. Life is supposed to be fun. There is a part of this journey or this life experience thing that we have that should be enjoyable, right? But there's also a level of accountability and seriousness that I think that should be taken that helps us to evolve to a better version of self. I'm not saying every record got to be Public Enemy, and I'm not saying every record got to be Two Chains, right? But I am saying that, like you said, the balance. Once the balance became off kilt, it created this environment of that's just the way it is,
It's an
right?
unhealthy environment. Let's keep it
Right,
a buck.
right,
It's an
right.
unhealthy environment.
Very much
It's
so.
you eating too many candy bars and not enough vegetables. You know what I'm saying? It's
To simplify, right,
to
right,
simplify it.
right. And I will say for artists like myself, and I won't even say like myself, but that have the same or intersecting intent when they make music, there was a ton of you may not have all of the, and it's not an excuse either. You may not have, like I would say, corporate or let's say popularity, but the people, the tribe of people that support you will support you for a lifetime because y'all constantly, there's ebbs and flows to it. Y'all are feeding each other. You know, they
Mm-hmm.
show up to the shows, they pay, you perform X, Y, and Z, and you constantly are able to create and become one of the tour guides in this
Mm-hmm.
thing called life for them.
Yeah, I just think, and I was going back, like with the United Kingdom and their history and stuff, and how it relates to music and stuff is, and everything that goes on now is. If you ever seen like the Marvin Gaye cover, I forgot the name of the album, but he's like a devil and an angel, and there's a chessboard, and he's like playing over the world, and the world is at the bottom of it, right? And that's literally essentially what's been going on for years.
Mm,
Is the United Kingdom was very good at twisting what, like, we talk about Sigmund Freud and playing on people's desires. It is
right.
a fact that people want to be loved. I don't care how
hmm
many times Ice Spice or someone raps about the way about a guy and says what they want. You want to be loved. You need
That's a
it to
fact.
be loved. So desires can be positive. You can have the desire to want to eat. But are you going to sell me McDonald's all the time? Or are you going to sell me healthy food? Are you going to be Dr. Sebi? Or are you going to be the clown at McDonald's?
Right.
Right? Or
Right.
are you going to sell me a record that talks about sexuality and sex and desire and love, but from a positive standpoint? So what the evil empire has done, and I say, 'cause I don't really care. I don't really care.
It is what it
They've
is, man.
they have flipped all the true universal laws on its head. And we're just
Right.
caught up in it because we've been disenfranchised and broken over years. So now I say all of
Misinformed,
that.
man.
Yeah. So I say we've done all of that to go back to your journey and your music process. What how do you get into your creative space to create the material that you do? And I feel like what you do is much needed. And I haven't dived too much into it because we just got to meet. But I feel
Yeah.
like the game is leaning towards too much of the candy bars and not enough vegetables. So,
Mm.
what is your creative process like when you go into making music?
Well, my man Tibbs or SJ would say, like, it's gonna sound crazy, but it's not. Pete would even tell you. I don't I technically haven't well, I record at home a lot, right? So what I do, I let the music run and I kind of open myself up to receive what some people may call downloads or whatever, and I speak on it. I make an intent and
Hmm.
I turn the music on and go. I don't, whether I haven't written anything down in a minute, but I'm very I'll keep repeating it in my head till I'm stacking the bars, 2 bars at a time when I record it or 4 bars at a time. And I'm making sure that these things are in alignment. But for me, man, I just kind of just open up myself to receive, I guess, any downloads or to be used as a vessel, man, to speak for whatever's in the room with me at the time. And if you know, like I told you earlier on, man, I just realized that the messenger is not, and know that I'm a servant of
Mm,
them of a message, right? I'm not bigger than the message, but I am one of the messengers for this evening or this moment or this present. If I'm present, so will the message, right? So I kind of approach the songs like that. Sometimes, I will have oh, I want to talk about this topic and I'll sit with it, but I kind of just really like
would it
to
be fair to
really
say? Would it be fair to say that you're going through that creative process of making the music, that you're an artist
mhm.
that wants to make the world a better place, not in a corny way. I know that
No,
sounds
no,
like
no, no.
that
I'm
sounds
no,
like,
it's not.
but like
I do, I
a
really do.
fun,
I really
like
right.
yeah, is that
I
the
want to.
point
Right, yeah.
of
I
your
want to make it
artistry?
enjoyable. My artistry, man. Current
Because we get
state.
because we get caught up, and not to say we get caught up in record sales and how much
Right,
this
yeah.
person's
Nah.
selling, and
I make music to be timeless, bro. My
mm,
intention is to make something timeless and something that you can take with you. If you're giving me 3 minutes of your time, I have 32 to 48 bars. That's 30, right? So I look at each bar like a free throw, right? I got 32 free throws and I can't hit a shot,
that's
right?
terrible.
So one of these free throws got it. One of these free throws you're gonna have to like the way I went to the basket, or you're gonna have to be like, look. So each bar is a shot for me to give you a quotable or something to walk away with.
Mm,
So that many attempts out of 32 or 48, right? 'Cause, whether your song is 2 verses or 3, I'm looking at it like, yo, okay, I got 32 shots or better to give somebody a quotable or something to make them go, And that is how I approach it. And I know if each bar should stick with someone, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, um, and I don't try to overthink or underthink that particular moment, right? Some songs don't require that. And then other songs I could sit with, and I may take today to write 3, 4 bars of it, put it to the side because I want this to be more dense. Other records that you want to be more light and etc. You approach it with that energy. Mhm.
That's fine. That's fine. I just think it's very important that, me, I'm very inspired by, Malcolm X was one of my favorite people, and
Me
things
too.
like that. And I think he was the closest thing to what, people might even consider like well, I'm not religious or nothing, but like, modern day Jesus or something like that. But I think he would have changed the world, because I think that we're in a spiritual battle. And I think that when I see artists that come out now, I just think that um I always wondered, like, what's their intent, what's their purpose. Sometimes, you hear lyrics sometimes, and even, throughout the history of music, there's always been this tug of war. And sometimes you'll hear records, and artists will be like, broke nigga this and y'all broke.
Right.
And I'm like, if a kid is listening to that on the way to work every day, right?
Mhm.
Young kid, because now we talking about innocence, right? And he's hearing his favorite rapper who's from his hood, but now he's rich and he's like, you broke and effers and all of
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
And you hear that over and over, you're gonna develop an insecurity, because now you're gonna feel like, damn, I ain't got no money, I ain't lit. You know what I'm saying? Girls ain't gonna want me. He's gonna take my bitch. The way
Right,
that.
right, right,
So,
right. But if you think
so
about the
yeah,
first level of indoctrination with that though, bro, I want to not interject, but just
yeah. Go ahead.
insert myself in this because I was talking to a friend of mine. I said, bro, in America, they teach you inferiority. They plant seeds of inferiority from kindergarten, and they also make everybody in that system that goes to public school search for some form of validation. What's the first validation you get in the school system? You get the little star. Oh, you did
Mm-hmm.
good. Let me give you the star.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like for the rest of your life, people have this tendency to not realize that they're searching for someone else's star to approve. And
Mm,
then the people who try to fake be tough be like, oh, we need nobody. That's still, you want to get approved by the people that don't need anybody too. So there's some form of validation, or you're searching for not approval, but a sign off for somebody or your tribe throughout this journey. And I think that's
mm-hmm.
what creates that, I don't give a fuck mentality, blah, blah, blah. But honestly, um, if love is the real answer at the end of it, because what we take and what we leave behind, we don't, none of the flesh or the worldly things you can't bring it with you, and that's in that pine box or whatever. So
Mm.
you leave behind memories that you made with people, and they take the ones they had with you as they continue their journey. And I told somebody at the interview of it, like, no, it's a conversation. I said, yo, in 100 years from now, this very said moment, our conversation, when somebody watches this in the future, in 100 years from now, this won't be no generational separation. They're gonna call this an era.
Mm-hmm.
It won't be somebody 10 years younger than us or 5 years younger than us or the youngest. They don't care about that. 100 years from now, all of us will be packed up.
Yeah.
We will be an era. So in this era, what will they say 100, 200 years from now that we did? What contribution did we make?
Yeah,
So
and that's what I find to be fun is,
yeah,
like, and this is why I just feel like rap now is a bit boring, because the 90s was so colorful. Even in one album, let's just say like a Hove album, you'll have Dirt Off Your Shoulders, you'll
mhm,
have you know what I'm saying, December 4th. You can go to Blueprint, you could go to any record, you
right.
could go to Nas's album,
There
he'll
was
have
dexterity. There's a
Uchi
lot of
Wally.
dexterity in the records, right?
Yeah, like, and I just want to go back to a place where, if you where music had a real purpose. I feel like now we are in an era where people are just making boring music because they want money, and they're being used as a weapon to de-evolve the next generation to be dumber and dumber and dumber, and it's making the world boring and less enjoyable and less fruitful. And so that's why I appreciate your energy and the things
Thank
you
you,
do,
man.
because slowly but surely, you know,
I'm cracking the code slowly. I think I
I just,
cracked it, but but it's
I'm
taking
just
a,
big on
you know.
fighting back against the corny shit. Like I'm gonna keep it a buck. Like, yeah, people don't want to say it because they don't want to lose out on getting the bread. But like, you can make lit music without making everybody feel like crap and just like it's crap. It's literally it's not music that is gonna help you get to work on time and do good. And then it doesn't help when the government and the environment is all warring and doing this. So now you've got music that's not. Before we had war, what
Well,
is it good for? Absolutely. That made you feel good. That made
right,
that
but
made
think,
you
but think, but
rise
think,
up
but
with
think, but
something.
think up, but think about how timeless that is. And this is what I talk about. And and my intent, even on my
Mm,
records, man, I have a few. I got the fiber of a lot
good
of my
word.
joints. Like I learned through I would say through touring is choruses, and when a chorus, I would say the call and respond portion of a chorus, right? So
Mm,
when you say something that is just really just packaged truthfully, it's palatable, it's short, it's to the point, and it's fun, it will usually stand the test of time in most cases, right? If you think about records that have survived, whether it's Marvin Gaye, what's going on, like his hook was what's going on.
mm-hmm.
What's going on? 3 words, right? That was the baseline of the hook. What's going? And then he was, we don't remember. A lot of people don't remember the words in between, but guess what we remember the most? And this is what I want to say about the shows and everything else too, man. When
Mm,
I rock and I do a song, people may not remember a bar the first go, but what
mm.
people always remember when you make art, bro, whether it's through photography, music, digital creation, people always remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
So at a live show versus people, the internet, or the number games people play, people never forget how you made them feel when you meet them or they see you rock. And I think I try to present that when I record, like the intent is to evoke a feeling of, yo, this feels right to me. You know what I'm saying? It feels good. I can keep this on repeat. That playback, I call it that rewind value. I try to
Mm.
put a lot of rewind value in my shit.
Yeah, because as human beings, man, we've come we're self-efficient, bro. Like and collectively we're even more powerful. You know what I'm saying? I just, I see the evil empire using technology with the streaming numbers and because they can just type numbers in. They could just say, oh, this artist got 1 million streams. It doesn't they can just put it in the computer, bro. Like it's
Right.
fake. It's
Right.
WWE now. It's fake. And then it's like then they'll just sign an artist who's like, well, I need to get the bag. And guess what? Everyone's gonna envy me and love me. So, you know what I'm saying? And then I want everyone on me and on my dick, whatever.
And
So
think about that though. People started to accept money, right, as a form of like intelligence. So people didn't care whether you were smart or dumb. They cared. Our culture is a culture of I don't care who got what. All them smart niggas ain't got no money though. So he ain't got no degrees, but he got that bag. Then you got people who maybe, let's say, intellectually blessed or gifted that do have money, right? And do have power. And the people that don't have the know-how end up becoming what? They subservient or
mhm.
working for the ones who actually figured that portion out.
But you know what's funny about that statement? It shows like a lack of intelligence is, you know, who made the most money back in the day? Craftsmen, people that were good at what they did.
Right.
So just because you're getting the bag, that's a manipulation tactic to say that it's
Thank
okay
you.
to be dumb and non-skillful and non-intelligent because you got the bag. So all
Right.
you
And
are is
that's what's
just a,
happening. But that's what's happening.
like
Perfect
Dave Chappelle.
example.
Dave, okay, go
No,
ahead.
but perfect example
Hmm.
would be, I'm not going to speak about a battle, but a lot of battles, right? But a battle recently was against, I would say, the so-called conscious hip hop community, right? Or the woke, right? Or
Hmm.
the lyrical nerds, the lyric nerds versus pop culture
Hmm.
versus the machine.
Mm-hmm.
right? And whether it was truthful or not, you were able to see skill set establish dominance in a battle,
Mm.
right? So, and I think in most cases, most artists, most people are trying to establish some form of dominance in their relationships,
Mm-hmm.
relationship between them and the consumer. Well, because I make art, I'm better than you, and you should just bow down and come and listen. And that's not the
Mm-hmm.
intent of the art, right? I told people, no person, as an artist, I can't be the artist and then multiply myself 1,000 times and go buy 1,000 tickets and come to my show.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a handshake. There's almost a spiritual handshake between you and a said person that will get out of their bed that morning, make the intent, buy a $10, $20 ticket, come to your show, or listen to your project, or XYZ to listen, to view your videos. We start to have a tendency to think that we're bigger than the people we service, because
Mm-hmm.
art to me is a service. It's of serving. You're
Yeah.
serving the greater public, and I think once you
It's better
start
to
to
give
realize,
than to receive, because by
right,
by default, if everyone's giving, you're receiving.
and the world, and you'll receive so much more when your intent is to know that you're a servant. You're a servant to the people, even though we've taken these titles as artists and they treat you away when you go to shows. You get the little, you know, sprinter vans, and you get this treatment. I never lose sight that I'm a servant. I personally will never lose sight that I'm a servant to the
And if
people.
it feels better to be that way,
Yeah,
because you're not getting, because what happens is they pump your head up, and then what happens is they'll pump your head up so high and they build you up, and
and tear
then
you down.
that gets boring because now they've built you up to be the supreme pawn, and then they go, all right, now we're gonna everyone that you've made feel kind of weird through the years by pumping yourself and doing all this other crazy stuff, right? Now we're gonna let them slaughter you and destroy you, and that's kind of what
Right.
I'm seeing now with like, and I've got a few other questions for you, but like this whole rap battle thing with like the Kendrick and the Drake and J. Cole thing,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like people lost out because on one end I hear, oh man, this is the greatest thing. This is hip hop at its core. I feel like that was one level of hip hop. I feel like all the fans lost out because guess what would have been more impactful? A trilateral commissional album between J. Cole, K. Dot, Drake. And because like Rick Ross going at Drake, it sucks because when I hear Aston Martin music, you know what I'm saying? When I hear Underground Kings, you know what I'm saying? Like them records is hard, bro. Now we're never gonna get that because now they disrespecting each other and bringing each other down, and people find that to be fun. And I'm like, that's whack because now the music,
Right.
we're never gonna have the music is not gonna grow and flourish. Drake
Right.
brings something to the table in his true essence. Forget about what, because everyone wants to judge, pick apart someone. In his true essence, he is great. You mix him with Cole, that's fire. First person to shoot it
Fire.
was fire. You mix
Fire.
Kendrick, Drake, Rick Ross, all you do is help flourish our culture. But the powers that be, they don't really want us to do that. And I think that that's what I'm most disappointed about with this whole, when I look back and I sit at home and I watch everyone getting all hype about the fighting part, we're so conditioned to want drama and beating each other up. And we think that it's corny to come together and do greater art. And so, like I said, your work and how you carry yourself is dope because it
Thank you.
makes people feel better. There won't be a fight at a show. People will be like, yo,
No, it's
yo,
funny. That's crazy. That's crazy you said that, because somebody said to me, yo, even some of the venues, they'll be like, I know they speak to each other, and I'm pretty sure they was like, yo, nah, his crowd don't be too rowdy. I mean, there'd be some people in there that I know get busy, but they come to a peace, like a Peace Beloved show. I gonna come to a Peace Beloved show and want to tear it up. You know what I'm saying? It kind of, the mantra of the show doesn't even,
It's holistic. You just want to
yeah,
chill.
You want to vibe. I'm here to bring the vibe, man. Like, and spread message, man. But I really, I watch a lot of Bob Marley, man. I watch a lot of DMX shows lately, and I
Mm-hmm.
watch those two people specifically currently. Um,
Mm-hmm.
to me, Bob was just it was the vibe, man, and it was but it was powerful. Bob wasn't a screamer. He wasn't XYZ, but he wasn't even busting guns. He didn't talk about nothing. He
None of
spoke
that.
a truth word, and it was just
A
such a vibe,
universal language that everybody want. One love,
bro. Yeah. So
peace,
yeah,
prosperity.
exactly, right. So and when I to me that resonates with such a my core. So, I watch a lot of that. I study it, and I try to implement those teachings into my own show and into my music, because I know that the greater picture or the greater conversation of it will result in something timeless and something that does stick to the people, man. For me personally.
Yeah. So let's go into your relationship with Pete Rock, right? Because I'm
Yes,
very
sir.
interested in that. So now, because we got very philosophical, but I think that it's necessary.
It's all love,
Yeah,
man.
I like to shake the cage a bit. But
Yeah.
so your relationship with Pete Rock, how when did you meet Pete Rock? How did that happen? Pete Rock is a really dope dude. Shout out to him. He's a super Knicks fan. I'm a Knicks fan. I always see him on
Yeah.
here.
Facts.
Great producer. Got a great energy. How did that come about? Your relationship
Um,
with Pete Rock?
well, we both from Mount Vernon, right?
Mm,
Um, I lived on in my grandmother's house on 358 South Second Mount Vernon when she moved from New Rochelle to Mount Vernon. I was By that time I started living in Mount Vernon with her, right? And I met CL. I met Pete Rock through CL Smooth years ago from the barbershop. When I was in the barbershop doing a lot of, like, dumb shit. I was a barber, and I was cutting CL's hair at the time.
mm,
And my cousin turned on this record that I had. It was like an Erica Badu remix. This dude Jason Panucci had it, and they asked me to put a verse on it. I put a verse on it. I kind of kept a copy of it. It was like a never really an official release, but it was a remix that I had done. My cousin played the tape in the barbershop with a CD in the barbershop. Still heard the record. He was like, "Yo, if I had that record, be a hit." And then, when you cocky and young, you're like, nigga, I have the record. Why is it not a hit? Because I got it. And everybody started laughing. He said, "Nah, it's cool. It's cool." He said, "You right, you right." And then he said, he said, "Yo, what you doing later?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "Come down to Urban Plaza." He said, "Matter
mm.
of fact, meet me at Urban Plaza tonight." So we in the barbershop kicking it. That night, I went to my grandmother's crib, pack, put on my little dickies and shit. And I think I might have had my clippers with me too. I'm not even sure. I don't think I bought them. But um, I went down to Urban Plaza, and he introduced me to Pete, little brother, uh, AZDO.
And were you familiar with Pete Rock at this time and his
Yeah, yeah,
work and
yeah,
stuff
yeah. I
already?
was a
Yeah.
fan. I was
Okay.
definitely a fan. You from that part of town, 914, man. You definitely, or even hip hop as a whole. But I would see him
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes, like, passing by in the car, shit like that. But I never had like a formal introduction to him. So I met him through CL. CL brought me to them, right? And from what I understand, he had never brought like a very few solo artists to that circle, right? So when he brought me around, I never rapped, never said a word. So I was at Urban Plaza, and like a couple days later, they was like, "Yo, we're going to Philly to do a show with the Roots." Because at Urban Plaza, that show was with the Roots. When they did the show with the Roots, after the show, I was with Dio. I think Dio dropped me off on 125th. I went to the I didn't drive. I think I took the train back to Mount Vernon, and that was it. So, and then days later, they was doing a photo shoot, and CL was like, "Yo, you want to come down to the photo shoot?" Me and Pete doing a shoot. I guess at that point they was allegedly doing the reunion album of sorts. That was the intent.
Mm.
So I was there for that shoot, and when I went to that shoot, I met Pete again. It was me, Nick, CL, I think Dio was there again. A few other people was there, and that's how I met Pete for the second time. I think he might have given me his number, but I never called him. Not because I didn't want to. I think I just really have enough. You kind of, what I'm gonna call Pete for. Like, he's Pete at the time. He's
Yeah.
still Pete now. So
You need a
you need a
solid reason
reason.
to.
You need a
Yeah.
reason. Yeah. So I didn't want to just burn the number. So then after that, they ended up taking me over to Eddie F. So when I went to Eddie F crib, I was with under Untouchables for a second. And for people that don't know, Pete Rock and CL Smooth were under Untouchables with Eddie F. So most people that came through Mount Vernon somehow had to go, like, not go, but had some type of intersecting moment with Eddie F. So I was over there at Eddie F's crib recording, and that's how everything happened. Then I met Pete to push fast forward later. He would send me beats over the years. When I first did the original Peace Beloved tape, it was 2000. You talk about 2012 and 14. I started recording. Then 2016, I put out Peace Beloved, the a three-part project. It was a short movie, a film. It was a short film, a book, and that. And Pete, I called Pete, and I said, "Y'all need some beats. Do you mind?" He sent me like 12 beats, and unbeknownst to me, he was trying to work with me then, but I did some dumb, young, stupid shit. Didn't realize his process, so I only picked one of the beats. But he gave me a whole project then.
Yeah, basically, if he give you that many beats,
He
it's
gave me
basically a
12 beats.
collaboration. Yeah.
So I took one of the beats and I did it. He wasn't gonna say, "Hey man, I gave you no, that was for you to do the whole project. Why you just take one beat and use it?" I was gonna, and I didn't know if I'd have rhymed to all of the because they sounded like skeleton beats, so I didn't think they were done.
Mm,
I'm like, yo, Pete gave me some skeletons. Yeah, let me take this one. This sounds the most completed.
mm.
It's a record called Superstar, and from there, that's what and then over the years, he would just send me joints, and we
What
became
what do you what
cool.
do you what do you think about you and like what do you think? Because obviously now I can see you guys are kind of close. You guys have
Hmm.
like the other day I seen you with him in Common.
Yeah.
Um, how was that experience? Have you been around Common a lot? I know that they were in studio working on something. Like
Yeah.
what is it about you that he tends to keep almost like keep you around, but likes your energy
No,
around and wants to
no,
work
know
with
what it is? It's like it's a Pete is fickle, but he's a fickle person in a good way. Like he don't, 30 years in the game, I think your senses are heightened to whether somebody's full of shit or if their intention is
you?
good or
Yeah.
bad. And I think,
Especially at the height that he's reached in his career and the things
right,
that he's
right.
seen in his life.
So I think his radar for that is pretty sharp. And
Mm,
he's a Jedi with that. I think our relationship has definitely became a lot different because of the music and traveling together. He know my ways, I know his ways. I can look at him and tell when he in the mood, like his little micro expressions. He'll talk to me. He'll say some shit like, "Boy, I keep telling your ass every time we go to a city, you always find some chicken." He said, "You the only nigga I know that find
mm.
chicken everywhere we go." He said, "I told you lay off that chicken." He'd be like, "This." He'll get it. We'll be in front of people. Like, "Yo, we get to the hotel. We may land 11 o'clock." And Peter be like, "A man gonna find some chicken. Watch. He gonna find some like grilled chicken, something
Yeah.
to eat." So our little behaviors, and we start to learn each other differently, and I think that actually forges a better relationship for the music. Um,
Do you think the
but
intent, going back to intent, is the same? Like you guys both, because he seems like obviously he's from an era where he's from the golden era. You know what I'm saying? And very
yes,
conscious
yeah,
music, very
he's one of the
truthful stuff.
architects. He's one of the
Yeah.
architects of the golden era. So yeah, I will say his intent is definitely to make timeless music.
Hmm.
And we've been taking our time with the Dope Boy Soul project for, I think not to say for obvious reasons, but for a lot of reasons that people will understand in due time, right? So with that project, it's definitely cooked up. Um,
And that's that a collaboration album between you and Pete Rock exclusively.
yeah, yeah, it's
Okay,
me and
that's
him.
dope.
Yeah,
Okay,
from
that's
top to
dope.
bottom. And I think, yeah, I think that's the reason why. But if we're talking about the reason why he keeps me around musically,
Yeah.
is because when I read an interview, I didn't know this until a couple years ago. When he asked me to come to True Soul, I thought he was joking. He called me and said, "Yo, man, I'm starting a label. How would you feel like coming over to True Soul, signing me? Let's knock out a couple albums." I'm like, "You P Rock, you sound crazy." Then the lawyer, his man, sent me the paperwork, and I had my people look over, and that was it. You talk about 2000 and that might have been 2021 when that happened, right?
Wow.
2020, 21, I would say, right? And from there, we started cooking. We did the mixtape 21 grams, but the reason after we did 21 grams, I saw an interview, somebody interview him separately from me. And it was like, the guy was interviewing, he said some shit like, "Yo, what the fuck make the exact words out of his mouth, what the fuck make this guy so special?"
Mm,
And my heart was in my throat when he did that. I said,
mm.
"This motherfucker, what's wrong with this nigga?" Like, and Pete just sat there. He said, "Well, there's millions of artists that I could have signed, right?" He said, "But ultimately,
Wow,
when
that's crazy.
I gave Amir 11, 12 beats, right? Just a couple years ago, he gave me 11 to 12 beats to start the Dope Boy Soul album. I gave him back those records in 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, completed songs. He looked at me and said, "Let me listen." He listened to it. That's when he called me back about the signing. He said, "When I heard the records, it's a lot of lyrical, miracle, spiritual guys that have pens that are out of this world and XYZ." He said, "The reason why I chose Amir out of everybody else that I was dealing with in that moment was because the texture of his voice
Mm.
matched my production
Mm.
the closest.
That's important, the sound of your
Yeah,
voice.
yeah. I didn't, but I how like I mean that's like rolling the dice. How would one have known that the texture of your voice would eventually
It's like
turn into
Biggie,
something?
Biggie's voice or Nas's voice. Those are very
Right,
distinctive,
right. So
DMX, very
that
distinctive
right.
sounding voices. Yeah.
And I didn't think I had a distinct voice, right? When I think of him and CL Smooth, I think nobody will ever sound better on the beats to me than CL and P because I'm a fan of that, right? But he was just, and I read in the interview, it was like he was like, "Yo, I get the same feeling with Amir that I got when I met CL when I heard him on my production." So it was a thing. It was a thing of voice texture and
Well, I think that see
lyricism.
that question was a very to me ignorant because I think one, it's once you find out why before you assume why this guy.
Yeah,
Two, I think that
I thought it was a
okay,
great question because I
it's a
think if
great
you
question.
if you look in the comments, people are gonna ask that when a lot of people be like, "Yeah, well, what? Yeah, exactly. Why? Who? What the? You know
Well,
what
I
make
mean,
this guy?"
maybe the
Yeah,
delivery, the way he said it was a bit
but
disrespectful.
it was.
I'm big,
I know
but
what
it
I'm
was
gonna say something, man. For me, I didn't even think it was disrespect. I thought it was
mm.
brash,
Okay,
but it
brash
wasn't
might be the better
disrespect.
way. Yeah,
But I didn't think it was disrespectful to me because I at that moment like shit. Why you think of it? Yeah, why? Why did you sign me? Like it was like, yeah, why? And when he explained the why, I was like, I didn't even know it.
because it
Right.
said
So
no, because it comes from a place. The way it was said, it comes from a place like you could. To me, I think it's like you said, the sound of the voice. I also think timing is one of the things that people forget. Timing is
that
key.
too.
You can meet
That
the
too.
right person at the wrong time, or it could be, like
Right.
it's so many things that have to happen
Right. Right.
that make these things happen. I mean,
Right. Right. And to your point, like and think about it. Right place, right time, and the sound of your voice turning into something. My voice didn't sound like this 7 years ago.
hmm
Right? It didn't. It didn't sound like that musically. I remember talking to us about it and a few other people like, no, something happened in your voice around he said around the year was around 2017, 18. He said something in your voice changed. I don't know what it was, right? But for Pete, when we started cooking again, he was like, nah, the texture of your voice. Like and I remember being in Berlin at the airport. And he was like, yo, boy, your voice, man, be cutting through at these live shows. Because as he's watching you, he's also watching me as he's DJing and I'm rocking with him on tour. He get a chance to see how my voice carries in the live room too.
the effects of it. Yeah.
So he's low key like more like Yoda to this. He's watching you turn into a Jedi in front of him.
hmm
Um, so he would always give me tips, slow me down, like, yo, you rushed, you came to the song 3 seconds too early. You got to come in on the snare, not the hi hat. And like these are how intricate he would be. You came in too early. You got to wait for 3.5. And I'm like, but when
Yeah.
he
So you could,
sometimes
so you could flow right into it properly and,
right
and hit those and
and
hit those
right
points. Yeah.
and yeah, and then he taught me, like how to approach his production. A lot of people think they jump on the Pete Rock beat, and just because it's the Pete Rock beat, they get hype. But there's a almost low key of science. And he sat me
Of course.
down and he said, yo, this is the structure, how I approach XYZ. You need to come in here. Majority of my beats, I leave with like this little special point of entry.
hmm
And once you learn how he sets up those points of entry for your first verse, it becomes like a habit. And so it took me a little bit, not a little bit of time, but it took me some time to like become, I think, more acclimated to approaching his production, right? Um, but once I got it, I don't have that problem anymore. Like how to approach, Pete's production or
mm
X, Y, and Z. From him sending me beats to do, this song or man, could you do this? And I'm like, yeah, cool. So to have, his ear and his X, Y, Z it, in friendship and as men, it's like a big brother. And I mean, even the big brother, I think perspective of it. Big
hmm
brother's little brother thing. It has
Yeah.
its
That.
pros and cons. It has its
hmm
pros and cons because he'll little brother you and you be like, yeah, I'm still a grown man, man. And he'd be like, okay, my bad. Let me talk to you. And I may say something to him that may not, but we don't argue in public. We don't go through none of that. We just we got an issue or not an issue or concern. We always FaceTime each other offline, like, yo, man, okay, I need a beat like this. Or I
That's like
told
basketball
okay,
players, though. You just trying to be
right,
great. So you just
right,
you want the
yeah.
best for your teammate. You like, yo,
And
bro.
he does
You
it, but
should.
he does it. But I ain't gonna front. For me, he has done that. Like He definitely went above and beyond thus far, man, to make sure. And a
Hmm.
lot of things, you hear people, we talk about people in the comments, and people try to piss in your ear, tell you, oh, it's too slow, it's too fast, I need to do this. But God's timing, man, like, you know what I mean? And I'm a firm believer, like, to segue into the comment thing. So when the comment album came into play, I knew about it like a year ago that they was,
Hmm.
having that conversation and started kind of like talking about it and his strategy to do X, Y, and Z. And then when he brought me around Calm and Calm took a liking to me for the times I've been around him, because people are gonna watch you first, right? So if they invite you to the table to sit, you're sitting there with two, juggernauts of hip hop, and they embrace you. They're not embracing you because it's a mistake. You're supposed to be there. And I mean,
Mm.
Pete even, he'll tell me, he said, "You're not here because of a mistake. I mean, you're here because you're supposed to be here. You're qualified to be here. So don't ever shake or tell yourself that you're not supposed to be. You're here because you are
Yeah,
absolutely
because you got to think
qualified."
about the odds of people in
Hmm.
America. You got 300 plus million people in America, and out of Pete Rock and Common through the era they came in, that's a very
You,
small
you
percentage of success and musical influence
yeah,
and experience that they had in life. And now you're sitting there with them, getting ready
hmm,
to bark on that experience. That is one hell of a, you know what I'm saying? That's a swing at the bat
yeah,
that many people don't hit. So, and I
yeah,
can speak
and like
for myself and my own experiences, but yeah,
yeah,
definitely,
yeah. So I mean,
definitely.
I would say, and then like I said, and then Calm, man, Common, mean his management, and him, and coming around, and he embraced, first time I met him, yo, you ate, stuff like that, and yo, man, what's up, like, and then from the video, they got a video coming out too. I gotta definitely shout them out for that. The video called "Wise Up" for their album. Their album is called the Auditorium Volume, I think Volume One. Um, they shot that video. I mean, the video for "Wise Up" is coming, so I got a cameo in there with them brothers, and they
Dope.
made sure that I was in the video. They made sure that, to groom, to I think to escort me into their world, and share, because that's a sharing of fan base. That's also a sharing of their power, like
Yeah.
and you have to know your position on the chessboard around that. I mean, and don't
So,
shrink yourself, but be
yeah.
respectful about their position too. Yeah.
So, but how much of it is now? How much of, and this has always been quite an interesting question because like my mentor is Johnny Nunez. Johnny Nunez is one of the goats,
Right. And
and
huge, huge. And
yeah,
you coming under a goal you as well. So there's intersecting things that come with both of our experiences. Like you with Johnny Nunez, he's the go-to for everybody, right?
yeah, 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 and he has
So
the respect
for
of
him,
everybody.
for him to say, "Yo, go handle that, Demetrius," is you're there because you're supposed to be there. Like,
I mean, there's
you
times where
know,
he's told people like, "Yo, he's like," I'm just like, "Damn," like, what I'm saying? But or there's times where he'll keep it real with me. He'll be like, "Yo, D, don't do that." You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't gotta do that. Or, yo, if you're going here, make sure, boom, 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 like, and his reputation's on the line, by giving you a bit of his star power from the work that he put in the trisket.
right,
But
right.
what I
So
was gonna,
right,
so I understand exactly what that means. But now
yeah.
my question to you is, how much is, in your experience, the help of these guys continuing to help you versus somehow you figuring out, like for instance, Dr. Dre signs Eminem.
Yes.
He
Or Game or Kendrick.
or anybody, right? And there's a certain
Uh,
amount of, hey, take it off of me and put it on them. I'm Common
right.
or I'm Pete Rock, but this is the beloved
Yeah.
one, Amir,
Yeah.
Amir, Amir. How much, like, what do you think it like? Because you get bits and pieces of it, right? And obviously through time and trust you get
Hmm.
more and more, and you prove yourself and you build yourself. But at some point, like, how does it, I guess my question is, because today or tomorrow Common could decide to say, hey, look, I'm going to put this guy in this and that, and push you even further. Or Pete Rock could say, I'm going to do this and that. And so how much of it is them really wanting to push you versus, I guess, you having to prove yourself? Like, how does that dynamic work in your opinion, basically?
In my opinion, I don't know. I don't know yet. I'll say it's gonna show through my work or me pushing when they're
Mm,
not pushing, right? People to help people who help themselves, right?
yeah.
So as long as I continue to work, whether it's freestyles or whether it's me putting out EPs or along until is the tapping of the Dope Boy Soul album, which that's in the chamber. Um and what they have for the auditorium, and my participation in that project. at and hopefully, like I guess the touring, the shows or whatever, if whether I'm
Mhm.
opening or whether I get to jump out on, they put me out on stage with them, however I'm granted the opportunity to
Yeah.
rock, you
Because I
know,
always feel I always feel there is a forefather before you. There is
yeah, and
no,
if you think of, yeah, that's
yeah.
true, very
There
very
is
true, because
yeah.
look how common in them guys. If you look at Most, and my man Esther was telling me, he's like, man, these guys don't really co-sign people like that, especially guys from New York like that. He said, so you think about how whether it was De La Soul, whatever people, one of the people that co-signed Most Def, or who co-signed Common, or who co-signed XYZ, who
And why
co-signed
would you
Pete.
want to co-sign anybody? You want
Right,
to be
right,
careful with
right,
that.
yeah, right. Who co-signed Pete, which was Hev, right? So Hev bought Pete. Hev Pete stood on Hev's shoulders. I'm standing on Pete's shoulders,
Peace
and if
shoulders.
Common has allowed me to stand on his shoulders too, uh, which I'm not signed to, but they work together, right? So, but we are gonna.
Okay.
I mean, the intention is to be around each other, and just build a rapport.
Mhm.
But I don't like. I'm not like I, that relationship is totally by the power or the grace of my bro Pete, right? Because Pete
Mhm.
brought me around. You know what I'm saying? He brought me around, Calm and XYZ, and so
So
I'm
I think
forever
it's more of
thankful
a
for that.
matter. I think it'd be
Mhm.
more of a matter of how inventive you are with, and this is why I
When
started the podcast, right? Because I was like, okay, Johnny Nunez has helped me a lot. He's put money in my pocket. He has
Mhm.
put me in the rooms with some of the biggest celebrities, the most. And when I say that, I mean celebrity in the sense of their impact culturally
Right,
worldwide,
right,
and
exactly, right,
the
exactly,
money that they've been able to generate for companies
right.
and big corporations. Those machines,
Mhm.
they have been, and not everyone gets a shot to be trusted. He must have seen enough in me to say, you know what, this guy, because we believe in the same, our intent is the same. When I finally got the attention of Johnny, I was already doing enough for him to go, okay, this guy, he got what I got. Now I could have just effed off and not
Yeah,
continued to do anything, and he would have been like, well, you were cool, but I'm not
you don't
calling
take
you
it that
back.
serious. Yeah, yeah, I'm not. Yeah, you don't take it
Yes,
as serious. You gotta show it. Like it's through demonstration, man.
and then
I
I think,
think people
yeah,
select people through demonstration. What are you gonna
yeah.
do when nothing is moving? Will you move for yourself?
Yeah, how innovative can you be? So, like, for instance, the podcast, I said, you know what? I started in radio. That's how I got my into the
Mhm.
game. I was working at a radio station, cleaning the station, doing all the humble things that you're supposed to do coming into the game, getting people, coffees, running down to the store and collecting the money and using my food stamp card at the time to go pay for that and keeping the money and doing, but still make, you know what I mean? Like real grassroots stuff. But the podcast was like another branch. It was like, okay, I could just run behind Johnny and just be like, oh, okay, when he gives me a call and and
I'll
do
take
good
it.
photography work. But then I'm like, well, what else value can I have? I need to tell other people's stories. I need to show
Yeah,
him that when he's like, okay, that's settled, that part of the relationship is settled. Oh, snap, now you're doing that? Oh, that's a really good idea. You know what? Let me call you again. So I think it's really for you. I think it's just about how innovative you can
yeah,
continue to be to
right.
strike interest in common to go back and go, hold on, what Amir did what? P Rob, like, oh,
Yeah,
what? Wait, we was doing
yeah,
this. That's cool, but I didn't know you had that
yeah.
in the back. You know what I'm saying?
And
So
I agree because, like I said, you know, without Pete, he definitely, and we got a lot, bro. We got over 70 some records. Me and
wow,
Pete
that's
got
crazy.
70 plus. That's a fact, like 70 plus records, and nobody
Wow.
really. And I'm excited. I'm super excited now because I know what we gearing up to do. Like, you know what I'm saying?
And you were
The
when he was in his prime. When he was in his prime years, you were just kind of quite young. I mean,
Yeah,
I would
yeah,
say,
yeah, yeah. So I didn't, and I'm catching him now. Like, and I say this, that album that he did with Khan, I ain't gonna hold y'all. That production he did,
he went crazy.
yeah, it wasn't. It's an evolved version of himself. And I said it to him. I said, and he looked at
Uh,
me. I said, it's almost like you get to the point, like, damn, these beats crazy. Where was these beats at? You know what I'm saying?
mm,
You ask for 5 seconds, like,
mm,
damn, where the fuck was these shits at?
mm,
But he definitely. I'm happy, and I'm happy for both of them, and and everybody that was involved. You know what I'm saying? At whatever level, man. Because I do believe that project is some joints on there, and that I think answer, and they speak to a lot of the stuff we had in this conversation prior. Like,
hmm
by no way would I be in that loop without Pete Rock. You know,
yeah.
you know and a lot of people's interest in me probably wouldn't be what it is
Where it's
without Pete
at, yeah,
Rock.
yeah.
But also if I had not done a lot of the
Your
legwork
part.
to get there part, he wouldn't feel comfortable in saying, "Yo, I got a man with me." You know, because some we go to shows and some people it feel kind of cool when they're like, "Where's a man?"
Mm.
So it's almost like an expectation of at certain points. So a man not coming, or so even though we're not a group, but to have that, so that lets me know that the work is working. And even though I know I have a ton of work to do, and fun to have, I'm ready for that portion now.
That's dope, man. What do you find is the hardest thing about doing this? And from
Patience,
again, being real about it, like, because patience. You say patience, okay? Patience.
patience
Why?
to
Why
me,
patient?
patience, because it'll test your willpower. Patience
Mm.
is the killer of a lot of dreams, man. Haste. And I don't mean patience because someone telling you to be patient. I mean patience with the spirit of yourself. Patience with knowing that whether people do it for you or not, that you're still going to be able to do what you was purposely put here to do,
Now,
right?
how do you balance patience with, am I doing enough at the same time, but not trying to overdo it, where then you
Mhm.
crash and burn because you weren't being patient? There's got to be a formula to that.
I would say pacing,
Mm.
patience, and pace,
Mm.
intent, passion, and knowing what. And I say this all the time: ask your purpose for permission before you make a move. Don't ask a person for permission, but ask your purpose for permission before you make a move, and trust the guidance you get from that, and that little funny feeling that you get, because your stomach is your second brain.
Mm.
So if you get that funny feeling in your stomach that you're not doing something right or wrong, trust in that. I
That's
think
that
that there's,
instinct, right? It's that
yeah,
instinct.
right, right.
It's like in the
Hmm.
hood when you feel like, damn, you turn around, you feel someone following you. You know,
Yeah, you feel that
oh
yeah,
shit, it's about to
right.
go down.
Or right, or that feeling, I know I shouldn't have came over here. Something told me not to
Yeah,
do
yeah.
that, and you do it
I should have,
anyway.
yeah, I should have
Right,
went
right.
out with that.
So
Yeah,
yeah, right.
yeah.
So I think for me, um, though,
Mm.
the patience, because you think you have patience until you got to get tested.
Hmm.
Um, and that has been one of the greatest lessons thus far. Yeah,
So have you, like, with that being a test, has there been moments where, I like this show to also be educational. I say all the things that I
yeah.
say because I really just want to elevate my people, hip hop, which I love. I have children. I just want the world to
Mhm.
be a very innovative and positive place. But that doesn't mean that it has to be corny. Doesn't mean it has to be
Right.
lame and all these other things that people try to attach to it by signing, "Oh, you trying to be kumbaya." I mean, listen, there's necessary
Nah.
problems and unnecessary problems,
Uh-uh.
right?
Yeah.
So
Facts.
high frequency joint, classy, professionalism, craftsmanship, swaggadocious. You know what I mean? There's a different type of
Right.
way of being. So with battling with the patients, did you ever feel like, damn, I should be on, I should have,
Of
like,
course. Of
what is
course.
that
Of
battle?
course. Of
Okay.
course. Of course. That runs through your mind. Like I call it your son. I have this thing that I call like your son is that thing on your shoulder to say, "Your son, you need to be." Your son will trick you out your position.
Mm-hmm.
Your son will be on
Mm.
your shoulder telling you, "Your son, yo, fuck that son. Go do this, do it, da, da, da,"
Would that
and
be your
then
ego? Would that be like your
right.
ego?
It could be
Okay.
ego. It could be that little voice on the right and left shoulder that tells you to do something that probably is going
I've had
against the
that.
grain.
I've definitely had that guy.
Because when your son get on your back, man, your son will have you. It'll tell you some shit, and then when you make that act, your son nowhere to be found. So now you dealing with it. Your son is gone, and you up there like, damn, where your son at? Where he at now to give me advice to get out of it?
Yeah,
So I
yeah, yeah.
think for
He put
me,
that battery in your back,
put the
and now,
battery in your back. Word. So
yeah.
so when he get to talking to you, you got to know, where that energy coming from, man. But I can honestly say that, yeah, I think it's natural to go through those emotions, like, yeah, I want it now, or you see, or to not compare, but to look at other artists that you may deem yourself more talented. Because I think most artists do that. They don't, and then until you get taught that the real journey is with you, it's not with comparing yourself to someone, right? Because you still yourself of
Mm,
your own joy and happiness when you do that. So I
mm.
think for me, And all of these lessons came through being patient. And still, I have plenty of lessons to learn going forward. But at this particular stage, as things are staging, you know, and what appears to be staging, right? For True Soul, for Pete, for Common, for myself, everybody, those guys are established. They're gonna die legends, man. They're gonna live legends and they're gonna die legends. You know, I'm trying, I'm establishing my own,
Mm.
with their assistance and their guidance. Pete been quarterbacking for some time, but like I said, people he introduced me to is always, especially when we start, you form relationships with them, is always a blessing.
Mm. So what would then be your criteria then? If Pete Rock and Common are like you, because I hear you say like, okay, they've made it, they're icons, da 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 da, right?
Mhm.
So what is the criteria before you could say Amxxr is in that category? How, like what are the things that you have to do?
You know
Is it
what?
sell a certain amount of records?
I don't know. I
Is
don't
it
know.
make a certain amount of money? Like make like what is that act? Because sometimes I try to tell myself that I'm already living my dream. The fact that I'm talking
Right,
to you and you came on the show and you're connected to Pete Rock. I've shot Pete Rock. I shot Pete Rock at Prodigy's wake. I got
right,
pictures of that. You know what I'm saying?
right,
I've shot a lot of great people. I've been in rooms with some of the, but
yeah,
yet I'm not a multi-millionaire, but I'm
right,
not broke. I got a nice
yeah,
house. I got, I've come up from nasty beginnings. I've
yeah,
got beautiful, healthy children. You know what I'm saying? I've
yeah.
got a great wife. But at the same time, how do we like what is that criteria then for Amxxr as an artist? Then, if Pete Rock and Common are
Oh,
legendary and they've completed that, what do you need to tick off before you feel like I'm in that boat with them?
know what? I'm not really qualified to say what it is, but my real goal is to
Mm,
make sure that my maker is pleased with what I've done with what he gave me.
mm,
And if
mm,
that lands me in any of those boxes, then so be it. But my
mhm,
goal is not to measure myself by a ruler of let's say status, but more with, is the source, my creator, really pleased
mm.
with me? And have I done enough? I would be terrified to leave and know that he's not pleased with what I've done.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's dope. I think, for you, and I would say even myself, being kind of in a similar position with mentors who have
Yeah.
iconic
Yeah.
status, as I think that we're already kind of living out that that status quo. I think we are. I think what it is how many how much can you build yourself up to bless things around you in a positive way from your mentors? Can you help Pete Rock make more money and see more of
Yeah.
the world through your efforts and
Yes.
work? Can
Yes.
you help your family, and have more fun and enjoy
Mm.
life? I think enjoyment of life. So if you can be a pillar of, like, when I step in the room as a photographer, I'm bringing positive energy. I'm bringing
You
people
are. That's a
together.
fact. That's a
You
fact.
know what I'm
And you
saying?
super perfect in direction. I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see the whole vibe. I've seen it in motion.
Yeah,
That's a fact.
even when I came in with you, it's like, all right, let's make this a moment. I was with D in the
Yeah.
hallway, and I'm like, yo,
Yeah.
let's go down. I'm gonna go, like, ain't nobody asking me to do nothing. You ain't
Yeah.
asked me to do
And
nothing. I
that
was
and
like,
that
you know
was
what?
very spiritual to me, man. Because you know
Mm,
what? I was just in the car talking to Trey. I was telling Trey, we need a photographer, man. We out here looking hit. And I swear to God, it was like the universe said, I,
mm.
it was the wildest. So that was a very
And the crazy thing is, I didn't see you for it's been about a good amount of
month.
time,
Yeah, it's about
but
6 to 8 months, because that was
mhm.
last year. That Rakim show was about a year plus. A year. I don't think it was a year, because I know they did. It might have been last year.
It was about 8 to 6 months from
Yeah.
that point. And then,
Right.
I flow back to London. I'm going through my own journey of things. You going through your own thing. And then just magically, I randomly decided to pick the flight and come at that time to
Word.
keep, showing my face in New York
And know what
and
they
and
call
and
that? They
what
call
they
those
call
divine appointments, man.
it. Yeah.
You don't miss you don't miss divine appointments. This interview will be considered a divine appointment. Those are things
Yeah.
that you can't miss, even if you tried it. Mhm.
Yeah, and it was like, so that's what I aim to do with my artistry is when I'm at event. There's my daughter in the background. She's sleeping, so it's all good.
That's
Um,
all love.
yes, she's knocked out. That's funny. It's all good. It's real. I like it. I like this is real.
Yeah.
So I just what I like to do is just to continue to increase value. And how do you increase value? You make the room better. You light the room up. So it doesn't matter if Michael Jordan is in the room and Jay-Z is in the room. I'm gonna find a way to make the room better, from the way I dress to the way I smell to the way I speak to people and how I
Yep.
galvanize people. And I learned, a lot of that I learned, from Johnny. Johnny was the type of person, because as a camera guy, you have egos in the building, especially at the level he swings at with the people that are in the building. So you might
Right.
have, like, for instance, he told me one time, when he introduced Hove and
Mm.
Michael Jordan, and these are two juggernauts in their respected
Yeah.
businesses and crafts. But there's always that bit of like, well, I ain't gonna walk over to him, and I ain't gonna walk over to him. But
Yeah.
you might be like, oh, that's Hov, and he might be, oh, that's MJ. Like, but as a camera person, you have the power to create
To
a
gel at.
magical to gel it and say, yo, Mike, Hove, let me get y'all in for this picture. This is a moment, and see that moment and be the one to break the ego down and bring it together. And then what happens is now they get the laughing and talking, and now all of a sudden you got something that happens magical, and you become the conduit to that. So I feel like as long as you are be a conduit for good times, the good
You oh,
times, like
you
then you move,
you
then
on
you
course.
and I think you will always be blessed, and those blessings tinker based on how you shape those opportunities. You know what I'm
Facts.
saying?
Facts.
I
I would
really
agree.
believe that, and I think that you're well on your way to doing that.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? It was a pleasure shooting you in the studio. And I think, once again, that added to the inspiration of the situation, um,
Absolutely. And
and
then
to
you pulled up to
document
the
that
show,
moment.
which was crazy. I thought that was big love too, man.
Yeah, I was
I
like,
ain't gonna
nah, I'm gonna
hold you.
pull up to the show because I want to tell the narrative too. Look, we were in the
Yeah.
studio working.
Yeah.
All right, now we at the show, and I thought that was just, I love that stuff. And if I can, as a cameraman, you make the artist look good. They're like, "Dang, you got a photographer with them." Like, people, once that light starts flickering, then you look like more of
Yeah.
a star. And
Fact.
my
That's
goal,
fact. That's fact. And a lot of artists didn't understand that. That is part of
mm,
the psychological effect, especially when you do the work to you. But then the artist got to carry out his part.
yeah,
Yeah.
my job
Yeah.
is to make you look good. So the more I'm focusing and
Yeah.
looking like I'm really trying to get the shot and the
Yeah.
lights is flickering off, people are looking at you like, oh, damn, okay. So then, because you know what I mean? And it becomes an energy that the
Yep.
people read, and they're like, okay, Amir must be important because he got this guy with him. Then they're like, dang, you must be important because you with Amir, and Amir's with blah, blah, blah. So
Yeah.
then it becomes
Yeah.
this synergy.
Right.
And,
Yep. Facts. I would agree.
you know, and I just like to be a part of history. I want, the pictures
Thank
might
you,
not,
man.
hold as much weight now as they will in 10 years. And you'll look back at those photos and be like,
I'd be
damn,
like, damn.
I remember
Right.
when I was X, Y, Z age. I remember I was at this stage of my thing. And that's the power I love about what I do behind the lens, and now taking it over to,
Yeah.
Creative Art Podcast and things like that. But I
Absolutely.
just want to say thank you for giving
Thank
me your
you, man.
time. Yeah, I didn't even think we'd be on for this long and go into some of
It
the
is
things
what
that we
it
talked
is what
about.
it is, man. You can bust it up in the episodes. I'm cool with it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I felt like, hip hop needs balance again. It needs a little bit more
Hmm.
diversity. I'm tired of people saying that this doesn't get played in the club and that's whack. I think consciousness has dropped a few points on the scoreboard, and
Hmm.
I just think that we need to uh, balance it out. It's okay to have the ice spices. That's cool, but we need not all ice spice. We need some Lauren Hills in the building. We need a few
Right.
of
It's
the
a fact.
because there's
Hmm.
fundamental laws at play here, and we can't just be eating Snicker bars all day and think that we're going to be healthy. So,
That's a fact.
um, I appreciate you coming on, man. It's been an
Thank
ill
you, brother.
vibe. This is the Creative
Always,
Vibe
man.
podcast. I'm Demetrius Behind the Lens. This is Amir. Tell the people where they can find you at, where they could, check out the music, all that information
Absolutely,
before we
man.
go.
You can find me right like on Twitter before they took my blue check, man. That didn't matter. That's an ego moment, right? Check it out. On Twitter, I was 25th hour, man. Number 2, number 5, THHOURMAN on Twitter. On IG, A.M.X.X.R. Amir Vivo. You get Amxxr TV on YouTube. Right now, check us out. We from True Soul. True Soul. We got some stuff coming. We just clearly talked about the latest release coming through that. Pete gonna be touching on that. The Auditorium album, him and Calm. For myself, I have Dope Boy Soul in the Chamber through True Soul, but other releases I have that are out right now. 7 Day Beloved Theory we just cooked up, courtesy of True Soul. 21 Grams is out already through True Soul, and also project I got coming to with my brother Ars, man. It's called No Soul Left Behind. Definitely fire. Shout out
That's
to my
dope, man. We
brother Art
definitely we
from the
definitely
Heat
gotta get
Makers.
Arsonist. Yeah, I gotta get Arsonist
Word.
on the show, man. Talk about his journey too.
Yeah.
And definitely me and you need to stick together, man. I think we could do
Absolutely,
some great visual work.
absolutely, man. Thank you, and I'm here,
Yeah,
man.
we'll get you out to London somehow. We'll do some ill
Yeah,
videos, you know what I'm saying? Do some photos.
yeah.
I'll
And
be back in New York
hopefully
soon.
hopefully they come out there. I might tag along, see if
Yeah,
I'm in
yeah.
the
Well, if you
budget for
do, yeah,
this.
pull out. I would love to shoot, I would love to be your camera guy and document you. And I'm no
See if
stranger
I'm
to
in the
Pete.
budget.
So yeah, well, hey, we'll figure it out, man. Shit,
Yeah,
you know how it is. But I
yes, sir.
appreciate you, brother. We'll do great things in the
Likewise,
future.
man. Thank you, brother.
And
Always.
yeah, man, I'm Demetrius Behind The Lens. This is the Creative Vibe Podcast. This is my brother Amxxr, and we're doing it big time, man. You
Absolutely.
already know, man. One love.